Here's a great tip to speed up your workflow in Maya. And ultimately, you want to get as fast as you can at modeling, at UVing, so you can do more work in less time. And I've been working a lot on this lately because I want to just push out as much content, as much modeling as I can in the shortest amount of time while still maintaining quality. So the tip is, for any detailed work that you are doing, especially for any repeating elements on your mesh, anything that has the same kind of repetition, bolts and nuts, columns, paneling, what you want to do is you want to model one, UV it, and then duplicate it. And what many people tend to do is they model one and they duplicate it. And then when it comes to UVing, they realize that they have to UV every single object. So they end up deleting what they duplicated. UV one and then duplicate it again with the UVs already done, and then move them into position again. So that takes a little longer, takes time, and you're losing valuable time doing this. So I'm going to give you two little options on how to do this properly. So here I have repeating elements. I have actually two. One is these little buttons that go up this retro vending machine. And also this soda can that's positioned and reused all the way up inside the vending machine. So none of these have been UV'd. So I just modeled them and then I took them and duplicated them. And now, because this model is done, I'm ready to UV. But none of these have been UV'd already, so that means I have to delete everything I duplicated. I have to UV one and then duplicate them again, so I don't have to UV every single one over and over again. So what I should have done to begin with is UV one, model a single bolt or whatever the repeating object is, UV it right away, and then duplicate it. So it's almost like you're introducing UVing in the middle of your modeling process, and sometimes you have to do that, especially if you want to get a little faster and not have to redo the work, because eventually all this little time that you take away to duplicate again and so on does add up. So here, none of these have been UV'd. So what I needed to do is just basically, I would delete everything that I duplicated, take the one that I have that's not UV'd, and UV it. So let me go ahead and quickly UV. I'll just do a quick straight projection. Let's do create planar, and let's do it on Y. And then I just need to cut it. Again, I don't want to be perfect with this. I'm just going to quickly cut this, select all the UVs, unfold. So let's say this is my UV layout. Just pretend it's perfect. And then once I've UV'd one, then I would take this and I would duplicate it. And now, because I am done with this one completely, modeling and UVing, these UVs get duplicated over and over again. Now I would position it, and I would call that done. So all these UVs are now overlapping. I can position them, and then when I deal with the UVs with the rest of the object, I would then lay them out, maybe separate them so each button has its own unique UV space, because all these UVs duplicated are sitting on top of each other right now. So if I just drag one, you can see that all these UVs are on top of each other. So, but I can deal with that later. The object has not been UV'd, and now the UVs are done, it's duplicated, and I would just deal with the layout later. So that greatly speeds up. As I'm modeling, I tend to UV anything that's repeating, then I duplicate it, and then I deal with the layout later when the entire modeling process is done. Now the other option is, let's say you don't want to UV right away. Let's say you just want to focus on modeling only, and then when it comes time to UVing, you want to just focus. You basically don't want to introduce UVing as you model, and that's okay. The other option is to use instances. So instead of, I'm going to take this soda can, for example. So this soda can, let me move this glass out of the way. So this soda can has not been UV'd, but it has been duplicated. And the way I duplicate it is just pressing Control D. And Control D just duplicates it. And there's no history being kept from one object to the other. So now if I UV one, that means I have to UV every single one, or I need to delete them, UV this one and then duplicate it. So I have UVs done for every single one from that point on. But if you use instances, you can UV later, and the UVs will be propagated to every duplicated piece. So here's how this works. So I'm going to go ahead and delete every single one of these. And I'm going to duplicate this can and position it back up. Now, instead of just duplicating regularly by pressing Control D, I'm going to create instances from it. So I'm going to select the scan. I'm going to go to Edit, Duplicate Special. Let's go to Options. And it does have a shortcut key, but you just have to set it up first before you can use it. because there are a lot of options inside that duplicate special command. So I'm going to go to options first, and let me reset settings. So all you need to do to create instances is under geometry type, enable instance. Now every time I duplicate with this command on, and let's say I position a bunch of these, and I can use a shortcut key, Control-Shift-D, or just continue using this option. And every time I duplicate, it will keep an instance, and you'll see what that means when I'm done. So let me just go ahead and duplicate these all the way up. So now, I did not UV this one, but every single object duplicated is an instance. Means that I can make any geometry changes, including I can make any UV changes, as well as UV the entire soda can, and all the changes will propagate and update for every instance I created. So when it comes to geometry, if I switch over to, let's say, vertex and start modifying, you can see all the instances are also being updated. And if I go to the UV editor, and let's say I'm just gonna do a cylindrical projection on this just to show you. So this object has not been UV'd. I'm gonna go to create, cylinder, and let's just very quickly just complete the sweep, and let me rotate this, and let me just select all the UVs. Of course, this is not gonna be perfect because I didn't project the top and the bottom, but just to show you, just to get the idea, let me take this and just position it right into the 0 to 1 space. So let's say these UVs have been done, and now all the changes that I've done for the UVs are also updated for all the instances. So this is the second great option, that if you do not want to UV as your model, you can leave it for later, and you do want to, let's say you want to duplicate, just duplicate by enabling and using instances. So these two different methods are really great to speed up your workflow in Maya and have you do more work in less time.